I'm Rich Bacalor, science consultant from Wayne County RESA, and today I have with me Lindsey McAllister from the Woodhaven Brownstown School District and Michelle Wagner also from Wayne County RESA. And we're here today just to talk about some of the high leverage classroom practices that we've moved into a remote or distant learning scenario. So welcome you guys. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Good to be.
So first of all, Lindsey, congratulations. I heard you recently earned your master's degree in education, so that's very exciting.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you teach?
Sure. I am, I'll be going into my 13th year, I think, of teaching next year. I've been at Woodhaven Brownstown at Bates Elementary for going into my 7th year. And I've been the extra person, so I've bumped around. So I've taught K through 3rd in my building. And most of my career I've been in 1st grade, but I've just bumped around here. So I've had a lot of experience with different teams and different curriculums and things like that, which has been great. And I love reading. I love teaching reading. I love teaching science, especially with the little kids. It's so fun when they are so engaged and so excited, and I can feel like I'm giving them a great start for their education.
So how has it been? I know everybody's in a different situation, but how have you adjusted to teaching from home?
Well, it was a little stressful at the beginning, for sure. I'll be honest. I was finishing up my master's. I have a 4-year-old, and my husband's still going into work. So I was doing all of those things on my own. And it was a little crazy, but once I kind of got into a swing of things with my class, and I decided for myself to keep it as much like the classroom as I could. So I made packets for students who preferred packets, and it was just like the same word work we would do, our sight word books, the same math workbooks that we would use. So I just tried to keep it as much the same as I could. For myself and also for the parents, so the kids already knew how to do those sort of things. And then to keep like the relationship part, I started doing Read Aloud. So I record 2 Read Alouds a week, and to go along with the importance of the variety of literature, I always do a fiction and a nonfiction. So that's where I kind of pull in my science that way. And then the kids can see me, and I just kind of act as though they're there, and we're in the classroom together. So I feel a little silly, but that's the most feedback I've gotten from my parents is how much the kids love watching the Read Aloud and seeing me there. So, and then we do a show and tell Zoom every Friday just to see each other and that kind of thing. So it's been going pretty good since we got through the rocky start.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your virtual Read Aloud seed science lesson with us. As I was watching your video, I couldn't help but think about how it lines up with the literacy essentials. And it seems as if you were very intentional in your efforts to model comprehension strategies like activating prior knowledge and paying attention to text features, questioning and visualizing, all within your Read Aloud. So I was just curious if you might be able to share how you decided to use this book and how you planned the Read Aloud.
Sure. When I went back, the first time I could get back into my classroom, because I didn't anticipate being out for the rest of the year. So I just kind of left with not a whole lot at all, not my planner or anything. So when I got back into the classroom and I knew I wanted to do these Read Alouds, I thought, okay, well, let me get the books I know the kids will like, and some we had read before. And then I knew I wanted to do the 50-50. So when I was going through my mess of a library, because kindergartners cannot keep books where they're supposed to be, I just picked what I thought would be high interest and also what could be useful right now with like going into spring and things like that. So I tried to pick, the seed books. We had done a lot of our science work this year has been on plants and plant and animal needs. So I tried to pick books that I could kind of play on that and continue learning, even though they weren't like sitting and doing something. So when I saw that one, I knew it had text features I could talk about from like ELA standpoint. It had great photographs and it had all the science content knowledge, and I thought this would be perfect to use.
As I was listening to you, I was thinking that in addition to all of that planning that you did for the content, you must have also had to think about the recording itself. How did you go about setting up the recording, and what is it like to record a virtual read aloud?
Yeah, I just have an iPad. I just stick it on the chair I'm sitting on right now. I sit in that white chair. I put some boxes up, and then I just prop my iPad up across from me and try to straighten up my area as best as I can. But that's literally all I do. I just use my iPad, hit record. I had a moment at the beginning as I'm reading, I'm like, oh no, it's backwards, like forgetting, So that was like a aha moment for myself, just because I had never recorded myself before. But yeah, so it's pretty simple. It's pretty just just a homemade little, I don't have a tripod or anything like that.
So you're saying you MacGyvered, McAllister it, right?
I'm McAllister MacGyvered. Yes, I did. It's two random. It's a boot box and a hair dryer box. It's very high tech. It's sitting right there. But yeah, so that's all I do is just record, and then I upload it to my Google Drive, and then I share the link. You have to okay anyone with the link can view, but then I just share that out on my Class Dojo, which is what I use to communicate with the kids and the parents. So it's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. I just have to, it's one of those times with my 4-year-old, like, okay, you have to sit here with mommy and pretend like you're at school and you're listening. You can't talk, or try to keep her busy with something else at that time.
I think that's super helpful for teachers too, to hear that if they don't need to have fancy equipment or anything special, that it really is just an iPad or an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And you're doing those twice a week, you said?
Yeah, I try to get them out Monday and Wednesday, and then Friday is our Zoom, so that way they can kind of see me 3 days a week, and then the other days Monday I put out like our ELA work for the week, and then usually, because I don't want to overwhelm, I just put the ELA out Monday, and then Tuesday, like each day from there, I'll do a math lesson.
So one of the things you mentioned earlier is that, what an important subject science is to you. And I think that's how we first met, was in a science workshop together. So can you talk a little bit about how you've extended the learning from just reading about science to engaging students in doing some science while they've been at home?
Definitely. I felt like I tried to pick books I knew would be high interest for them, and also something that I could would naturally transition to something they could just do. So the seed book, it was good timing. The earth was changing, all those things were happening outside. So while I was reading, I was trying to be very purposeful about like, oh, we see this in our area, or it was about how seeds travel. And so connecting it to things that they might understand, and then also kind of prompting, but in just a conversational way, like next time you go out and play, look for these things and that kind of thing. Because, science is all around us and it's always happening, and just to try to help them to understand it's not this thing in school, it's life and it's all around us all the time. So I try to, that was something I really didn't understand myself until I went to some NGSS training. But it became apparent to me there that noticing those things around me, science things, and even ELA things, is so powerful, because then you make those connections to things that you're learning about. So I try to be really intentional with my kids with that, especially being so young, where they are so curious and they notice things like, yes, that's exactly right. That's what we talked about here, connecting those things for them.
Yeah, those you bring up two things I think that are really, really helpful in this time. And one is just the idea of what do you see, what do you think, what do you wonder about. That routine for kids can be applied anywhere. And the second thing I think is really nice is that place-based idea, right? That learning starts from your home and where you are. So connecting those pieces together. Sometimes we've lost that in other educational settings, but if there's a sort of a glass half full piece, maybe that's it, right? That we've forced ourselves to look for learning opportunities in multiple spaces. So I really love hearing that. You also sent us a video of one of your students who sent you a response back. I mean, her mom helped with the video, but can you talk a little bit about how you've kept that engagement going and they've responded back to you?
Yeah, that was it was a total surprise. I don't remember in the video if I had asked, to send me a picture. I think I usually try to. If you see something, send me a picture, or tell me about it. However they're able to. So yes, this little girl, Riley, she was out front in her yard, and her mom was recording, I think, and she said, "Oh, I noticed this from the book," and she's like pointing to her tree, like, as you can see, here's the leaves or the flowers, and they turn into, it was just so perfect. And it was just that moment, like you just wait for as a teacher, like, oh my gosh, like you got it, and you loved it so much, and you wanted to show me and share it with me. So I haven't gotten many of those. I've gotten a few videos of like the kids reading and things like that, but that was it was just perfect because it went along so well. And then at the end, she said, what was the other thing? She added some like, oh, I learned how to ride my bike and things like that. And then her mom like reminded her, she was like, oh yes, and so this is the life cycle. It was just so adorable, and I thought, like, she's gonna remember, like, this is gonna stay with her. And it's every teacher's dream to like have a student grow up one day and say, like, well, my teacher got me outside one day, and like that got me interested in A, B, or C. It's nice to have those moments where they give that feedback to you. And I think, again, like when I do my read alouds, I try to make it as conversational as possible so it feels like we're together. And then they then in turn like do want to just go out, like, oh, well, yeah, like that's cool. Let's go see if we can find that here.
Lindsey, I'm really hearing how you're focused not just on the students' learning, then it's their whole social, emotional well-being as well during this time. So
definitely, yeah.
It's always nice to hear links between literacy and then motivation to get outside and move as well.
Yeah, I think that's, I have to give that to our district. That's like our number one priority. They keep reminding us all the time. We have these like 5 C's or something. I don't remember, but the compassion is number one. And so I just worry like they're not getting outside where we can have those conversations together. And, I think kids just don't get outside enough these days. So if I can try to get them out and then doing something, and then they can start playing and, using their imagination and things like that in a safe way, I feel good about that.
Yeah, well, it's definitely easier to stay 6 feet apart when you're outside.
Yeah.
So maybe as we transition, and we really don't know at this point what school is going to look like in the fall, but maybe more outside learning opportunities, starting with something like, as I don't want to say simple, but something as simple as a read aloud can then expand and turn into multiple opportunities to go outside and connect their learning like that. Another thing that you bring up is time. And I think as a science consultant, I probably get up on my soapbox quite a bit about making time for science, especially with our young kids in the elementary grades. But you have a really nice example here of connecting those two. Can you talk a little bit more about, how you're making use of limited time to link those two things together, the science and the literacy practices?
Yeah, I felt like um, the read aloud was uh, the perfect thing to do for both of those things. I wanted to do read alouds because I know how important it is. I enjoy read alouds, and I told my parents at the beginning, even if you don't do anything, just read to your kids. If you can do one thing, just read. So I wanted to be able to give them that opportunity, and also keep the relationship piece going. But I thought on top of everything else that they're doing, like thinking for myself, I'm working, I'm teaching, I'm raising a kid, and it's hard with just one. So, there's people out there with 3 kids, 2 kids, 6 kids, and they're doing all this learning. So if I can try to make it as easy as possible while also realistic and high interest, that's what I was trying to do. So I thought, I know I want to do 50-50 fiction and nonfiction. And instead of giving them prompts to go outside or something else the parents would have to fill out, since my kids are so little, I just thought maybe that just kind of real life science was the best way. And I didn't want to leave it out, even though I'm sure that people and districts are just saying like math and reading, just focus there. I couldn't do that, with my own morals. So so I thought, well, I'll do a read aloud and I can connect all those things. And then with the literacy essentials, read aloud is huge. And the way you use your read alouds, and I think this is important, and like my intention with it is I don't just read the story. Like I said before, I act as though they're there. I engage with the text. I point things out. I stop and do a think aloud, like all of those sort of really, really powerful literacy practices while intertwining the science. And I just use science text to do both of those things. So I'm not really creating any more work. It's more just work for myself, but it's not work so much for the parents or the kids, but they're gleaning and they're thinking and kind of keeping both of those practices going, the math or the reading and the science.
What I hear you saying too is so empathetic to families and so reassuring to them that, hey, this is just a piece of learning that you can take during your day and really move forward even into some quality family time.
Mm-hmm.
I also think as a literacy consultant, I'm always focused on increasing literacy achievement. And one of the best ways to do that really is to bolster that science background knowledge. And this is such a great example of that.
Lindsey, we really appreciate you spending some time with us today, and sharing a little bit of your classroom, a little bit of your house with us.
Sure.
And yeah, we just really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be a part of this and to be picked for it. I was kind of shocked because I just thought I just did a read aloud, but it does make me understand, even though I did things with intention and purpose, how powerful those things can be, and it's encouraging, definitely. But it's very doable, and like I said, it's the most feedback I've gotten from the parents. Like, we love the read alouds, the kids love it, and I'm seeing that they are going out and trying new things. And even if they don't give me feedback about it, it's okay, because I'm just glad they're out and they're noticing, science around them, all while becoming better readers. So
it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, thank you for your time. And good luck. Everybody stay healthy, stay safe, and hopefully we'll get back and see each other face to face soon.
Great. Thank you so much.